The first bill in this package is House File 3920, which is a supplemental judiciary finance civil law omnibus bill. Chair Becker Finn, would you like to move the HF 2930 to get it before the committee?
Yes, Madam Chair, that is my motion.
3920.
3920.
3920.
Yes, Madam Chair.
I understand you have two authors' amendment that you'd like to act on before you present your bill. Please move the A5 and tell us about it.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. We'll move the A5 amendment. The A5 amendment is a technical amendment, just clarifying some language around the salary additions for the judicial branch. Because they are third branch of government, there are some very specific ways we have to word things, and House Research recommended that we make this amendment.
All right. Are there any questions on the amendment? Seeing no further questions, the A5 amendment is before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Next is the A7 amendment. Chair Becker Finn, please move it and proceed.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. I will move the A7 amendment. The A7 amendment is the civil law policy omnibus. So we're combining that with the finance bill. I will note, since it was heard in committee, a couple things have been removed. One of those is Representative Muller's language around GPS tracking, and that's because that language is already included in the public safety omnibus bill. And then also removing Representative Hanson's snowmobile penalties bill and Representative Feist's bill that have already passed and been signed by the governor. So we didn't need that in the bill, so we took those out.
All right, are there any questions on the amendment? Okay. Seeing no further questions, the A7 amendment is before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion prevails. Okay, Chair Becker Finn, please tell us about House File 3920 as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so as I mentioned, because of the split in the Senate, there is a Senate Judiciary Finance Committee, which is separate from their Civil Law Data and Policy Committee. So that's why we had separate omnibus bills. We're now combining those. Because we're in Ways and Means, I'll focus most of my comments on the financial implications on the judiciary finance piece. Really, throughout this biennium, our focus in this committee has been on a focus on liberty and justice for all. That really has been our focus. You know, we say that every time we say the Pledge of Allegiance, but it really comes to bear here in the Judiciary Finance Bill. And one of the main things we wanted to do is make sure that whether your constitutional rights are upheld or not should not be determined by your access to wealth. And so with that, one of the primary focuses of the funding in this bill is increasing funding both to the Board of Public Defense as well as civil legal services. We really conceive of our justice system as a three-legged stool of the judicial branch, civil legal services, and the Board of Public Defense. And so we need to make sure each one of those legs of the stool is functioning well for the whole system to function well, and that has been our focus. So in 23, there's 140 million, and then in the tails it's 300 million. That is a larger tails target than some folks got, but that's because really the recognition, especially for the Board of Public Defense, how important that is. We, as folks are hopefully aware, our public defenders have never fully been funded as an agency. And what folks might not be aware of is that providing public defense to citizens is actually something that is constitutionally required that we do, and it's constitutionally required that states fund that. And we've not upheld that really ever in our state. And so that's really the biggest item in this bill is increasing that base funding ongoing to the Board of Public Defense so that we can at least be meeting minimum caseload levels. And that's against public standard or national standards of what public defense standards for caseload should be. You know, I've heard some folks, because it's such a big number, you know, some folks have been like, oh, this must be the Cadillac plan. Mm-hmm. This is not the Cadillac plan. This is the bare minimum of what we need to do so that we have a functional vehicle. Right now, things are really being held together with hitchhiking and bumming rides, and we want to make sure that our public defense system is actually functioning well. And so that's what this bill does. So in addition to that funding, so it's an additional $50 million each year to the Board of Public Defense to meet those constitutional requirements. There's also judicial compensation increases that were requested by the judicial branch. Those are met as well. Some small increases to the guardian ad litem, as well as some funding, one-time funding on some file storage, salary equity issues within the judicial branch. The other main agency within our purview in judiciary is the Department of Human Rights. So we also have funding to increase investigative capacity, track incidents of hate incidents, and then increase outreach and bias response, community outreach, really including the community and reaching out to folks so that we are getting a full picture of what's going on in our state. So those are kind of, and then one of the other, a couple other more smaller numbers, but setting up a board of appellate counsel for parents. So when parents are, so folks remember last year we passed a bill to provide attorneys to parents who are facing losing custody of their children, losing their parental rights. And so this would provide counsel for those parents at the appellate level as well. As far as there's some other shifting a little bit with fines and fees, but not increasing any fees on the public. That was really important to me, especially in this time of surplus. There is some changes to try to build some more fairness into things. And then one of the provisions, I think there were 6 bills introduced to deal with this, but making it so that access to public court documents remains it was free online for a limited amount of time while they were getting this new system up and running, but we want to extend that so that folks have access to public documents for free ongoing. And so that's a lot of bipartisan support on that work as well. As far as the policy provisions, I know we're a little short for time, so I'll go quickly. A lot of stuff on data. I know that that's not exciting to a lot of people, but it is in our committee. We included several things that were fully vetted and supported by the Data Practices Commission. For folks who are not familiar, the Data Practices Commission is fully bipartisan. There's equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans on that commission, and we had unanimous support on a couple of data provisions, many of them this year having to do with protecting the data around students, so around minors. Some boring, Article 4 is all just on a uniform Canadian Money Judgments Act, UCC request. And then Article 5 in human rights includes the Crown Act, which we've already passed off the House floor, as well as preventing pay discrimination, a Representative Daniels bill on closed captioning for people who are blind, and prohibiting racial and ethnic discrimination in organ transplants, and then the Take Pride Act carried by Representative Hollins. A couple other things around changing notaries and changing ability to change your name after you get divorced, as well as Representative Scott's bill to clarify some forfeiture technical changes. So that's the bill. Happy to take questions. I think, I can't remember the exact quote, but I think Lead Scott on our committee said it was a fairly decent bill, which I took as a pretty good review from my Republican lead. So it's a bill that we're proud of, and I'm happy to take questions, Madam Chair.
But thank you so much for your presentation, Chair Becker-Finn. Representative Scott.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chair Becker-Finn. And it's a decent bill. However, it would have been more decent had this been a budget year. And I mean, last year we increased judiciary spending by approximately $48.6 million, and this bill increases it by an additional $140 million, and then $300 in the tails. So it's a very expensive bill, but I do like some of the policy provisions in here. I'm very thankful that you included the bill on student data in the schools, and that's been worked on for a very long time. This bill's been scaled down a lot. But we have nothing currently that protects that data, really, folks. And with the onset of how much work our students are doing online, that is a troubling prospect that there's really nothing governing, putting guardrails around what happens with that data. So I'm very thankful for that piece. And I don't disagree that there are priorities that people need to have equal justice under the law. I just think this is, because this is not a budget year, I think, and the spending is so much greater, I think it could have been moderated a little bit more. But that's really my only comments, Madam Chair and Madam Chair. So thank you.
Okay, I see no further questions. You know, one of the things that I found, since I don't sit on judiciary, is that I wrote down that you said the public defender office has never been fully funded, but it's constitutional that we do so, but it has never been done. And so here we are with a surplus. This is an opportunity for us to really do something that constitutionally we should have always been doing. And so I just want to thank you, Chair Becker Finn, for your committee work to ensure that our system of justice is accessible to everyone, regardless of income. And with that, the chair will lay over House File 3920 as amended.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will also note that the Senate also included the $50 million per year for the public defenders as well. So it is a bipartisan effort. Thank you, Madam Chair.